Because reading is what?
Fundamental!
Yeah, you know it. Hello, and welcome to this exclusive edition of Reading Is Fanndamental, brought to you by rpdrukfans, with me, Frankie Fann. Today's book is something that everybody should read. It won the Pulitzer Prize, and it's a genuinely fantastic piece of literature. It's The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. I'd imagine many of you out there have probably seen the film. I've never seen the film. I've only read the book. But I'm thinking it's probably time I watch the movie because it's been long enough. And it has some fantastic women in it. Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey. Legends. Anyway, I'm talking about the book. If you haven't read it or you don't know the story, I don't want to spoil it too much for you because it's genuinely a good book and it's definitely worth the read. So I don't want to tell you all out there everything that happens. But I'm going to tell you some, or else it'd be a pretty boring video, wouldn't it? Standing here not talking about anything. Now, it's not an all sunshine and rainbows kind of book. It's set in the rural south in Georgia. It's about a woman called Celie, and the book is told through letters that she writes. She writes them to God, and the first letter isn't very pleasant. Kind of sets the tone for the rest of the book. Celie is 14, and she's just been wrecked by her father, her pa. Her mother has had too many kids, and she's not interested in sex anymore, so his eyes wandered onto Celie. Her mother dies quite quickly into the book. Very quickly, actually. So it's not really a spoiler. Poor Celie has 2 children fathered by the man she calls Pa, and he takes them away. Celie suspects he's killed one of them and sold the other one. We learn that Celie has a younger sister called Nettie, and Celie's started to suspect that her Pa's eyes started to wander onto Nettie. So Nettie meets this gentleman, and Celie encourages her to marry this man, because then she can get away from, their Pa. But their Pa won't have it. Oh no, she's too young, he says. Nettie's too young to get married. But you can marry Celie instead. She'd make a great wife. Which is basically what her Pa tells this gentleman, mister. As the story goes on a bit, Nettie leaves the family home and moves in with Celie and mister temporarily, before leaving and just completely disappearing. And Celie is heartbroken because her sister's now gone, the one person in the whole world that actually loved her, and she's gone. She's never going to see her again. Gone. Throughout the book, in these letters, Celie often talks about how much she misses Nettie and how she believes her to be dead, as she never hears from her sister again. And then the rest of the book, it carries on in the form of letters, which Celie still writes to God, and we learn quite a lot about Celie's life over a number of years. So she's married to this mister now. She's raising his kids, and obviously they grow up and turn into adults. Children tend to do that. And one of them, a man called Harpo, meets a woman called Sophia, who's a very strong-minded woman. She don't let no man tell her what to do. And the pair get married. And Celie kind of admires Sophia. She's very different to Celie. Celie just gets treated terrible by men and kind of just, that's how it is. But Sophia stands up to them and she's her own woman. Yeah. She's got a lot more fight in her than Celie has. However, she does get into trouble later on in the story for kind of standing up for herself a bit, but I don't want to tell you too much, I don't want to spoil it. And another woman's name pops up in the book, quite early on actually. Shug Avery. She travels around as a popular singer, and she's very attractive. And it turns out that Celie's mister used to have a thing with Shug. One day, mister goes away, and a few days later, he comes back with Shug Avery. She's quite poorly, so he's kind of got her there to nurse her back to health a little bit. But Celie kind of does it really. Now, at first, Shug doesn't really seem to like Celie very much. But after a while, they become quite close. And as time goes on, Shug ends up with this other man, but Celie ends up falling in love with Shug, and they form a bond, and they end up getting together. Lesbians. Now, at this point in the book, something happens. Celie, along with Shug, discovers something that mister has been hiding for years from Celie. Now, it's quite a big thing, and it does change the entire thing of the story. But if you're reading it or experiencing the story for the first time, I really don't want to spoil it for you, so you're going to have to read it to find out what happens. You've got to discover the story for yourself. I'm not going to ruin it for you. But basically, the story is told by Celie through letters, focuses on her sister who isn't in her life anymore. Men are horrible to her, basically. And she discovers herself through relationships with other women. For instance, Shug brings out the love and desire that Celie's got. But then Sophia brings out more of the fight in Celie, because she kind of admires her a bit. She does eventually find out what happens to her children, but that's going to be for the reader to discover. And the book is kind of about women sort of discovering their power. There's a character in it called Squeak, and she sort of just ends up sort of often leaving and becoming a jazz singer. It's just nice to read a book that's all on women, but that's one of the amazing things about The Colour Purple is it's so unashamedly about no, this is about black women. There's no real exploration into the motives and the lives of the male characters in it. Not really. Well, I guess the most developed male character in it is probably Harpo. Although there's another male character you meet a little bit later in the book called Samuel, and you get some development from him as well, but really it kind of does focus on purely just the women and their stories. Oh, there's so much. This book is so good. Even though it's quite a short book, like you could probably read it in a day, there's so much emotion in it. There's so many like different relationships going on. And the character of Shug Avery is like, gotta be one of the best in fiction. She's so vivid, and I love that she's a bit of a bitch. And Celia's journey through the book is one of the best narrative journeys in fiction. Like, for a book that you could read in a day or two, the change that she goes through is like I've read really long-ass books where you don't get that kind of character development. And yet it doesn't really feel forced. It's quite organic. It's just written really well. It's a really good book. And the end makes me cry so much. It's so emotional. Oh, you can feel that. You gotta read it. It's just such an amazing book. Oh, I'm getting a bit teary thinking about the end. It really is just an amazing book. You can see why it won prizes. Read this book. Read it. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Now you know what I'm gonna say. Make sure you subscribe to the RPDR UK Fans YouTube channel and check out all of the social media accounts, which is RPDR UK Fans across all platforms we use. And also, make sure you check out the brand new website, rpdrukfans.co.uk. It's the home for everything RuPaul's Drag Race UK fans. Drag news, upcoming shows, podcasts, merch. It's all there, so go and take a peek. And if you want to see more of me, Frankie Fann, then check out and follow me on my social media, which is @TheFrankieFann across all platforms. Well, the ones that I use anyway. Thanks!